Not put up with it.
Well,
and by the way, egg prices are supposed to come down, not airplanes.
Well, let me say someplace that could really use a lot of cutting. You know,
Elon
has very many what do you call it?
Government contracts.
Yeah. I think, because I don't remember, maybe y'all heard it, but I don't remember looking for an armored car.
And
I don't remember, I don't care what it looks like. I don't remember asking for it. I don't know why I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
I want to know, when did I say, hey, we need another agency next to NASA?
Yeah.
So when did we start paying for his stuff?
You talk about SpaceX overseeing FAA?
No. You know that he's going to be cutting NASA.
Yeah.
That's the competition. So what is the real deal here?
Money.
If we want to cut some money, let's cut some of these.
Follow
I'm
the
okay
money.
with that.
Follow the money.
Because we have to pay for it. You are paying for everything he sends up that comes back down, that falls back down and breaks up. That's out of our pockets. We'll be right back.
But one of the things he is excellent at, and the media takes the bait often, is he writes himself into every story.
What's up, Black Coffee fam? The View getting seemingly cut off by the White House press after Whoopi's comments. It's time to call out the double standards, examine the underlying issues, and discuss why this blew up in their faces. For too long, we've seen a disconnect between what the progressive left preaches and what they actually practice. They criticize figures like Trump and Musk, but are they really offering better solutions or holding themselves to the same standards of accountability? Are they truly engaging in dialogue, or are they just boxing themselves in? Remember the constant criticism and cackling from shows like The View regarding Trump's actions. They painted him as a bully and a thug, yet they seem to ignore the waste and fraud and abuse within the system. The hypocrisy is glaring. The same people who claim to care about the American people are often the ones fighting against transparency and accountability. They're more interested in maintaining the status quo, even if it means perpetuating a system riddled with corruption. It's like they don't realize what's happening. Elon Musk is using his platforms to expose potential conflicts of interest and demand transparency.
What I don't like about what's going on is I just view this as, well, let's watch the Democratic Party commit suicide. And like, I've been a Democrat most of my life. I kind of view myself as outside it, but I don't like watching the Democrats just commit. And what I see is most of the country doesn't really, at this point, given the fraud, waste, and abuse we know is there, 90% of the country is like, get rid of that fraud, waste, and abuse. And I just view this as yet another example of the progressive left boxing themselves into a side dance. Now, what the progressive left should be doing is saying, okay, Elon, you're clearly the most qualified person in the world to do something like this. We want to dialogue with you about how you're doing and what are you doing. I don't believe that's actually what happened. And again, I like Elon. I know I think he's obviously the most important builder in the world. And I just think, if you want to say my former side, I don't believe that they're actually engaging. I think it's like another dance where I'm supposed to say, of course, like whatever. It's like there's this one issue where I might, and then you get boxed into you cannot solve the problem. And then I would say, what is the biggest problem in this society? Biggest problem in this society from my perspective is legitimacy of our institutions. Why aren't they legitimate? They're not legitimate because, okay, do any of you really believe that 99% of your taxpayer dollars are being spent? But last and not least, and probably arguably most importantly, there's two revolutions happening. One is transparency and one is AI. Okay, so why is it that we do not know where every penny of our money goes? Like, how do you explain that to people? And by the way, slightly more technically, what large language models do is they mean you can go into the contracts and see exactly what happened. So in the past, we couldn't do this. Now we can. The right response is, we want this to happen, we want to happen, we want to be involved in the dialogue. The real response is, it feels like the people criticizing Elon don't want it to happen. And this is going to destroy those people.
I
I've been fighting fake news reporters all day long here in the Washington, D.C. swamp who are trying to fearmonger the American people into believing that this administration is going after their hard-earned tax dollars and their hard-earned Social Security checks. So I want to set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify duplicate payments and to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hardworking Americans who have been paying into it their entire lives. So rest assured to all of the people watching your show tonight, if you paid into the system honestly, you will continue to receive your Social Security checks. Do not buy into the lies from the legacy fake news media who are trying to fear you and scare you into believing otherwise. This is what we've seen them do about President Trump for years with every promise that he has made. And he's going in there to protect your hard-earned money. That is the ultimate goal.
By the way, Elon Musk has no executional mandate. He can just, he's unique, he's got his own international broadcast network called X. He just finds these issues, he 48 hours publishes them, and you read them, and every American goes, what is this?
That way. I've checked the
Let me, to that
There's
point,
no executional rights.
To that point, he is using X, and he is using the website Doge, and you can go on the website and sort of track some of it.
It doesn't always tell you what the thing was.
But here is something that has struck me and that has kind of come up recently.
He's not trying to snoop around in our personal finances. He's trying to ensure taxpayer dollars are used responsibly. Why is that so controversial? The outrage and panic from some members of Congress and the media is telling. Are they afraid of what might be revealed when we start digging into where every penny of our money goes? With AI and large language models, we can analyze contracts and track exactly what's happening. This level of transparency is a game changer, and it's threatening to those who benefit from the current system. This isn't about blindly supporting Trump or Musk. It's about recognizing that a business-oriented approach to government can expose corruption and inefficiency. It's about demanding transparency and accountability from our institutions. It's about putting the interests of hardworking Americans first. Let's break down some key areas. Trump's strategy and actions. Trump came in with a clear strategy to shake things up. And whether you agree with his policies or not, he recognized the need to address the waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Examples of waste, fraud, and abuse. For decades, leaders have pledged to address rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, but little has changed. Trump directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. There is suspicion that tens of millions of deceased people are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. The goal is to identify duplicate payments and payments going to deceased people, protecting the system for hardworking Americans. Musk's role in promoting transparency. Musk is using his platforms, like X and Doge, to shine a light on potential fraud and conflicts of interest. He is not trying to snoop around personal finances, but rather focusing on how taxpayer money is spent. The left's hypocrisy. Instead of engaging in dialogue with someone like Elon Musk, the progressive left seems to push back. The real response should be wanting transparency and involvement. The View's consistent bias. Shows like The View have consistently attacked Trump, ignoring the underlying issues of government waste and corruption. They are cackling and ranting. Let's dig a little deeper. Why is there so much resistance to transparency? One reason is that large language models now make it easier to analyze contracts and see exactly where the money is going. In the past, this was much more difficult. Now, with the rise of AI, it's becoming increasingly possible to hold our institutions accountable. It's also important to consider the source of the criticism. Are these individuals genuinely concerned about the well-being of the American people, or are they simply trying to protect their own interests? Are they panicking because they fear exposure? So, what can we do about this? Demand transparency. Call on our elected officials to support measures that increase transparency and accountability in government spending. Support independent journalism. Seek out news sources that are willing to investigate and report on government waste and corruption, regardless of political affiliation. Engage in constructive dialogue. Encourage respectful conversations about these issues, even with those who hold different viewpoints. Hold the media accountable. Call out biased reporting and demand that the media adhere to the principles of fairness and accuracy. This isn't a partisan issue. It's an American issue. We all have a stake in ensuring that our government is operating efficiently and effectively. By demanding transparency and accountability, we can create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. Let's not allow shows like The View on figures like Whoopi to distract us from the real problems. It's time to focus on solutions, not just on personalities and biased narratives. We have to recognize that a business-oriented approach to government can expose corruption and inefficiency. It's about demanding transparency and accountability from our institutions. It's about putting the interests of hardworking Americans first. So, what do you think, Black Coffee fam? Is The View being held accountable for their hypocrisy? Are Trump and Musk on the right track? What are your solutions to increase government, transparency, and reduce waste? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real talk. Peace!
A bully and a thug who's the president of the United States, U.S., it's everywhere.
There is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits. A chance to see what happens when you take a business approach to the government in the White House. We're seeing right now with this whole U.S. aid thing, where they're uncovering massive amounts of corruption.
And also, I got to say, don't you agree? I totally agree.
Essential.
Early on, immediately.
Well, she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
To her.
The EU does not treat the U.S. fairly on trade and that he has some big complaints. Is that true?
Right? And it doesn't mean that we should sit and pretend that it's suddenly okay, that this new presidency is just going to keep on keeping on. That is not the case. And
awful things have happened. So, and sparks move things. And it doesn't matter how much water you have.
Future president and his gag are
somebody in policy.
The city of the Pacific Palisades is burning. And, I flew here last night. I was on a plane.
You getting water to areas that need...
He's been trained his whole life to do.
What do we do?
Right now you're looking straight, remember it.
We as a country about James.
Yeah, and then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know.
Jordan.
Josh Green, the governor. Watch news or talk.
Now look, I have a lot of...
The Democratic Party has about everything.
The next department that appears to be on the chopping block is the Department of Education. Just earlier today...
Well, thank you. Hey, now speaking of church, can I...
In common, they're all terrified of Ronan Farrow.
Is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires.
They're on Team Chiefs. Literally right next to us was Taylor Swift. Those are boo.
Well, thank you. Hey, now speaking of church, can I say something?